Recording and live. Welcome back to the RINO Podcast. Hi, Kaitlin. Good morning. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, Jeff. How about that snow yesterday?
Oh, yeah, the 11 inches of snow that turned into 3 inches of slush.
Oh, my God. That was the worst.
It sucks.
So I've been starting to do this workout class that's like a weight training. Like, I don't know if you can actually say it's like HIIT, but like you roll
High
through
intensity interval training.
Kind of, sort of. It's kind of sort of that, but it's also got like it's like a boot camp with like weight training mixed in. It's been awesome, and I feel amazing.
It's great stuff.
But it really is. Like weight training, as you get older, like you got to do it. It just makes you feel good. 100%. And you got to do it with somebody who knows what they're doing. And so like you're all good and safe and you can get stronger in a good way. But anyway, so I woke up at 7 a.m. to go to this 9 a.m. class. And there was like no snow on the ground. It was like 2 inches of like actual like maybe flurries or whatever, but it wasn't that bad. I was able to like drive out of it, not having to shovel or really brush off my car or anything because it was too warm. Then I leave the class and there's like 2 inches of slush on the ground. It was disgusting. It was worse than actual snow.
It's this time of year where I wonder why I live here. Because
March is really bad.
March is just, it's like spring is a few weeks away, but it's definitely not here. And you have to deal with the snow and the crap and the gray and the slush and it's funny that we're talking about this is because, you know, the migration to a warmer climate is one of our, for a different reason, is one of the topics for us today. But yeah, it gets, this is, I don't know, it makes you appreciate the spring and summer and fall more here, that the winters suck so bad, but they suck so bad. And it's just draining. It really, stream issues. Okay, we're good. Okay. No, we're good. It's just garbage. I really wish sometimes, well, maybe, you know what? You need to become wealthy enough to buy a condo in Florida and fly down there for 2 months of the year.
Retirement age. Yeah. My father-in-law has a house in Florida and he's always like, just come down. It's like so cheap for the tickets. And I'm like, yeah, I want to, but we're going to Hawaii. We're going to Hawaii in April, so like I'm super pumped for the trip.
Great, well, that's good. But if you go down for like, if you can manage to be a snowbird and you leave a little after New Year's, and you do January, February, and like you come back a week from today, right? The next week, or the second week of March, it's starting to get into the high 30s and 40s, and it's and then you're rocking and rolling. It's great. It's a really good time. So I don't know. It's expensive though. But we will get through it. Spring is 2 weeks away. Yeah, 2 weeks away. 21st.
Well, yeah, because Easter is it the second weekend in April?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. On a less gloomy note, we just did it going over the patreon.com/RINOPod, only $1 a month. We just did an in-depth discussion on CPAC. And not to rehash it here, but I used to go to CPAC. It was a great event. I met a lot of people who are in Massachusetts politics through CPAC. It was a serious event. It was enjoyable, intelligent, and now it is just an out-and-out clown show. Match Slap is awful, needs to go. I'd be great at running CPAC, not gonna lie. It'd be enjoyable, and also it would restore prominence and seriousness to it. But now it's just a joke. And to those who said, "Oh, it was a joke before," shut up. It was the most. It was
a joke when you were sitting on a panel. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The people who are saying that, used to be in attendance to it and liked attending, even though that they now poo-poo it. Empty seats, empty auditoriums. Nobody there for Don Jr. Room half full for the former president. because Matt Schlapp has murdered it, and for a variety of reasons. But it's a shame, and it's kind of depressing that there's really no place where conservatives or normal conservatives like you and I can go or be a part of as a group and hash out the issues of the day, or just be around like-minded people. But if there's a market need for it, maybe somebody would fill it, and it's not going to be the what's the organization? First Principles First.
Principles first, principles last.
Principles last. That is true. Tom Nichols, who.
Oh my God! I went on like a rant yesterday. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm a conservative, right? I used to be a neoconservative, like really believe in like the spreading of American democracy around the world. I used to really believe that. Now I've changed my opinion where I'm like, okay, like we want to promote democracy, but like forcing that on like foreign countries where their cultures are like significantly older than ours, we have to make baby steps if we're going to promote anything. So it like works well on their populations. Okay. So you're going to see me not shit on the country of Poland in Eastern Europe as much as Tom Nichols does. And you want to know why I don't shit on Poland, Jeff?
Because
Poland is one of our best military allies in Eastern Europe, going up against Russia in the fight in Ukraine. Okay.
Yeah.
Is a lot of strategy, but also they've been really good to us as allies in Europe in general. So when the EU shits on Poland, when Tom Nichols shits on Poland, I literally watch them do this, and it's like, you elitist Western European Westerner idiots, you are dorks. Stop shitting on Poland. They are their own country that has been, a culture not totally defined and within the national boundaries of what Poland is today, but a culture in general for almost over a millennium. So why are you shitting on them? Because their culture doesn't go into a complete democratic version of what you think a utopian world should be. Okay,
you just hit on something that is. I just had a light bulb here, and you just hit on something that is very, very important. I'm reading a book called by Yuval Levin. Something debate. Jesus, I can't remember that, but it's about Edmund Burke and Thomas Paine. And it starts out talking about, the American Revolution and individualism, individual rights, liberties, things like that. And now I've just started it. Now I'm getting to the French Revolution part. And Edmund Burke was dead set against the French Revolution, because what the French Revolution did was it wanted to upend all the culture that was pre-existing for centuries, millennia in France. Get rid of the church, get rid of the regional cultures, all of this stuff. It wanted to wipe it clean. And it sort of set this template between left and right. The Great Debate, that's what it's called, The Great Debate by Yuval Levin. Go read it. It's really good so far.
Putting it in my Amazon list right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic book. But French Revolution, all of the characters in that, they wanted to wipe the slate clean, which is what a lot of progressives want to do. And what I just didn't realize, that exportation of democracy that you alluded to as a neocon, which I always thought, I was like, you're right, you can't. Let's do more.
I do want to differentiate between like conservatism and like what Reagan did in the 1980s compared to maybe what George W. Bush promoted within his presidency.
Call it attraction rather than promotion. Like lead by example, not by force.
Correct.
Right. Be such a shining star in the world of politics and governing that people want to be like you, so they make their own decision to be like you, rather than invading armies or force or sanctions or manipulation to make their government more like yours. Say this is better and here's why, and explain it, and make the rational cause.
And we see the things is like we see these strides in like Eastern European countries after the fall of the Soviet Union. They became independent countries. We see like the rise of democracy within these states, but it is their own form of democracy within their own cultures. And I think that conservatives I think Democrats and, like the EU and all this other stuff, is they're trying to put this political experiment into like federalizing like Europe essentially.
It's the same
They're
dynamic with the French Revolution. Yeah, no, but I'm
they're trying to force like an ideal of like, or I actually hate like the EU. I do not like Ursula von der Leyen at all. I just butchered her name. I'm not sorry. She's putting a very German idea of what she promotes this and that other countries have now accepted because it's an EU project onto Poland, and it's not going to work. Like, that's like the thing. It's like they're going to stand tall and not really give a shit. They're in the EU anyway. They're going to pay your sanctions or whatever. They're going to take you to court or the EU court or whatever they're going to do. But if the EU doesn't stop doing this, it's going to hurt their own union. Like, that's what I don't, in a foreign policy sense, I don't really understand. So like when I see Tom Nichols at this conference going off, like, the thing is like Brazil is always going to be a shit show. Like, it's never going to be stable. It's not going to be stable until their own people want it to be stable and they enforce stability on their government. Okay. Brazil has always been unstable. And these other countries that he mentions, and then he goes into Poland and I'm like, dude, they're our best military ally in Eastern Europe, have stood strong in the fight in Ukraine against Putin. And you're going to shit on them over one thing that the EU doesn't like? Are you serious? Is this a principled take? Like, that's where I'm like, what is wrong with these people? Because it makes it seem like they're just a more intellectual version of clownish conservative influencers. And that's where I'm like, intellectual, okay, like quotation marks.
No, that's a facade. That's a facade,
right? Like, it's like just... when I hear these things, when I see like Bill Kristol get up there and on that podium and start talking about like democracy, and it's like, dude, you donated to Terry McAuliffe in Virginia, one of the worst election denial conspiracy theorists in modern U.S. politics
for about 20 years.
Support and donated to him. He is one of the people who has caused this cancer in our country, election denial conspiracy theories. And you supported him against Glenn Youngkin. That is an unforgivable thing.
Yep.
Okay. Like, and he's up there at the principal's first conference behind the podium. Like, what is this clownish nonsense?
For 20 years, McAuliffe did that.
What makes you any different? Like, the thing is, what makes it any different from CPAC? Like, that's I guess my ultimate point. What's the difference here?
It's sort of, it's probably difficult to define and write it down as a metric, right? Of like, well, if you fall in this window of thought and behavior, you're probably normal and serious. But when you fall outside of it over here or outside of it over there, you thus become unserious. How do you quantify those ranges? I don't know, but there's definitely a range. There's definitely like a point where which they go to that they're become unserious. And it's usually through their own behavior and death of 1,000 cuts. There's probably not one necessary incident that kicks it into gear, but I think it becomes clear over time. There is a market need for what CPAC used to provide. Normal, rational conservatives who want to advance, and by conservative, faithful to the American founding. That is what you basically want it to be, okay? You don't want populism. You don't need Trump to be your king and he's the only one that can get it done. Federalism, constitutional order, laws are passed by legislatures, not decree by the president and saying student loans are now forgiven. No, you actually have to pass laws. That, at least, look, the Democratic legislature for 2 years of Biden could have forgiven student loans. Pass a law. Pass a law. Now, it would have been horrible policy, but it would have been legal. It would have been legal. It would have been terrible policy.
They had the option to do reconciliation on this.
Yeah.
They had the option to waste one of their reconciliation bills on this. Like that's one of the things where it's like, if that was really that big of a policy, they had the ability to base one of their affiliation bills on this for 2 years. For 2
standalone.
years.
They could have done a standalone. They could have done a standalone bill. They had a supermajority. I mean, not supermajority. They had the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Sign it into law. I mean, it's a bad idea no matter how you implement it, but at least it would have been legal. Point being, all right, there's a market need for CPAC. I hope it gets filled. I don't know how, but
for the normals, like like you see these two conferences together, and it's like, I'm not going to CPAC because I'm not going to waste my time on conservative influencers that I don't give a shit about, that don't say anything important. You look at like Principles First, and it's like Tom Nichols saying fucking bullshit, and then Bill Kristol preaching something. And it's like, how are they different from those conservative influencers at CPAC? Why would I waste my time and money to go to either conference? There's no point.
Yeah.
So I wish something would be like the old CPAC and come forward, and I would even like pay to see that on like, I don't know if I would go yet. I mean, like the thing
You'd
is,
have
like,
to roll the dice and go. Yeah, I mean,
off and
yeah,
like
yeah.
pay to go and stuff like that. Like I would love to pay for like an online Zoom access to these talks.
They broadcast all that stuff, or they used to.
Yeah,
but there is
the thing is like, I would love that, but like I have no wanting to go to CPAC. I have no wanting to go to Principles First. I just wish something middle of the road would come forward where the normals can actually, hear about actual conservatism in a healthy way.
And
so
the individual leading that charge was in Texas, not Maryland. Governor Ron DeSantis. And
right, he was in Texas.
He was in Texas, being normal and successful.
Talking to voters. He was talking to voters. And these are people that go to the primaries. The thing is like, people who attend these events are primary voters. They are involved in their county or local parties. They're like you and I, Jeff. And so that's relatable, right? Like it would be something that I would want to go to if he came up here. I would go.
Yeah.
So.
And I hope he does come up here, and he probably will if he's going to run for president. And New Hampshire is a big part. I mean, you got to come by Massachusetts and fly into Logan and collect the checks. We have more people and more money than New Hampshire. But our next topic is an article that Yvonne Abraham wrote in the Boston Globe. And Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll quote tweeted about a law that Governor Ron DeSantis put into place. And I'm going to start backwards here. So coming out of Florida, this is from Politico. Florida medical boards sign off on ban prohibiting gender-affirming care for kids. Now, that was pushed by Governor Ron DeSantis. Now, this is going to be a huge issue. This is the culture war, and let's be very clear about this. This is a culture war, a battle started by the left, not conservatives. This is a counterpunch, what he did.
Don't you always love lefties are like, conservatives start every culture war, nothing like the left is just, there and whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I'm old now. And no,
no, it's nonsense that you wouldn't have to have the medical board banning transitioning for children if transitioning for children weren't going on. And this is serious, and it's happening all over the place. And there is a knee-jerk reactionary response from liberals and progressives that if DeSantis or conservatives like it, then we must oppose it and hate it without looking at the merits of what's actually going on, which you're taking children and you're performing surgeries on them, pumping them full of hormones and drugs, puberty blockers, doing irreparable damage to their bodies and their minds and their psyches to enable what is patently and clearly insanity. And it's not an easy subject to talk about because a lot of people are scared to. They don't want to jump in the fray. You got like Governor Chris Sununu doesn't want to get into the culture war. Doesn't want this stuff. It's all overblown. Let's just talk about taxes and economic growth. Like, no, this is like, what's the point of economic growth if this is being pushed in schools? And it is being pushed in schools. So we have our lieutenant governor.
Well, it's like we agree on the economic growth. That's the thing. Like, is we agree on the economic growth, but this is actually happening to kids, and it needs to be discussed on whether or not it is an ethical right for people to medically put puberty blockers into underage kids who can't consent, really don't know what they're doing. And so it really is an experimental treatment. Like that's truly what it is.
Yeah.
And so it is an actual issue. And so when you, as a governor, refuse to say anything on the issue, we have to remember that anything like medical and all of that's legislated on by state legislatures. Those regulations are put forth by state legislatures.
Right.
So you're not going to question that? Like, not going to question the overly political regulation that Democrats are putting forth on that to approve it? Like, where do you stand with for history and yell stop? Like, that's the thing is where when I see Governor Sununu do this, it's like, are you being conservative at that point, or are you just regurgitating libertarian talking points? Because
the latter.
You're doing the latter a lot. And, New England Republicans a lot of the time are like, well, we don't want to. I actually really hate this because I'm from the South and y'all know that. But New England Republicans a lot of the times are just like, no, we don't want to cause a fuss. We don't want to cause a fuss. Cause the fuss.
Yeah. This because if you don't do it on this, if we don't do it on this, then to me there is no point. There's no point. What are you even involved in politics for? Okay, this is clear as day.
Here's what I'm going to say, and this is going to be a wise talking point for Mass GOP and Republicans who believe this. The second that you concede is when the left wins. So you cannot complain when the Donald Trump fans come into Mass GOP if you're conceding the point and removing yourself because you don't think it's dignified. It is dignified to actually stand up for what you believe in.
Yes.
At all times.
Yes. And
you can do that in smart ways. But the second you concede, you don't show up is when the Trump people get involved, and then we go through this mess in Mass GOP.
Yep. And
you have to show up, and you have to not back down.
Correct. This is a moral issue, and we have the high ground. We are correct. It's moral, logical, reasoned. It is without a doubt a really important issue for the next generation, because there are going to be billions of dollars worth of lawsuits coming in the decades to come that are going to unwind this. And you have obstinate fools like Kim Driscoll standing in the way.
My former mayor.
Yeah, standing in the way of this as it's some rallying cry that they think. And let me tell you right now, Massachusetts, Charlie Baker was reelected with overwhelming support for basically avoiding a lot of these cultural issues. That's fine, sort of. But if you want to push this, if you want to overreach and overstep, you watch what the blowback will be.
But at least Charlie Baker, when he got elected, was like, the Roe Act is not right, and I'm going to not sign it into law.
Correct.
Like, the thing is, like, he at least was elected and had the position to be like, this is too far. I am not passing this. So he maybe didn't run on a lot of social issues, but he was at least be able to be the adult in the room and say the Roe Act was not okay. And that's what a lot of people don't really understand up here.
Yeah.
We need that person because it is so far left that we at least have to have someone in the middle be like, no, like that's not okay. So like that's how you incrementally tear it back.
And to put a finer point on this, just so we're abundantly clear, it's because the media and liberals and progressives want to manipulate and lie. This is about children. If you're over the age of 18, you're a consenting adult, do whatever you want, okay? As long as you're not hurting anybody else. You can, get all the surgeries you want, go through the whole thing. This is about people who are not consenting adults that are going through this. And this is Yvonne Abraham. I'm going to read this from her yesterday. As DeSantis makes their child a target, a family decides to relocate her to Massachusetts. I say her, that's what I'm quoting from the article. How many children must be sacrificed on the altar of Ron DeSantis' presidential ambitions? That's grotesque, Yvonne. The Republican governor of Florida, like members of his party across the country, is targeting transgender people to raise his national profile. No, he's not. That's a lie. Enacting regulation and pushing laws to make it harder, even illegal, for them to get gender-affirming health care, to exist safely in public. That's not true. Even to be spoken of in schools. Okay? Again, that's a good thing that he's doing this for children. Again, next sentence, DeSantis' GOP is using trans youth in particular as a culture war cudgel, whipping up voter support with even more draconian measures designed to drive them into the shadows, where they'll become more likely to be depressed and hurt themselves. That's actually a lie. There'll be the amount of suicide and depression in adults who have transitioned is sky high. Sky high. The science is.
I feel bad for these people. That makes me sad because it's like you're trying to do this almost to conform to a societal norm or what you consider a societal norm within the transgender community. And you shouldn't have to do that, and it shouldn't make you feel like that.
So I'll continue with a couple more sentences here, just because I want to get make sure that the full picture is understood. Rather than risk that, some families are making the gut-wrenching decision to flee. We're being forced to leave because of a political game that is being played with our children as the pawns, said Ruth, an attorney in South Florida whose 13-year-old daughter is transgender. I'm guessing male to female. Here's an interesting part. She and her daughter are planning to relocate to the Boston area at the end of the school year. Ruth's husband and her older daughter, 15, will remain in Florida. The two other families in the attorney's small circle are making the same decision, she said. So you're leaving your other daughter, who I'm assuming is a biological female, to move your child to Massachusetts, who's 13 years old. So what can happen? So they can be treated on its surface, they're a biological male, so that they can be treated as a female here in our state. And what are the ramifications of that? Now I'm going to tie this with this. Kim Driscoll, our lieutenant governor, quote tweeting this. Massachusetts is as safe and welcoming and open place as any we can find in this country. Okay, I'll agree with that quote. And she says further, proud of the work we are doing to help ensure Massachusetts is a safe haven that works for and welcomes all. Hashtag Trans Lives Matter. So there you have a full endorsement.
Is it really that safe? And oh my God, I have so much to say. Kim Driscoll, she used to be my mayor in Salem. Yeah. Yeah, really safe, Kim. Really safe overall.
This is.
I mean, what do you say to a woman who fucked up Salem public schools to the point of where they're at right now? Okay, even if on the transgender issue, are you serious? You have no idea what you're talking about.
Let me tell you this right now. She's very serious because none of this stuff that's tweeted, maybe she tweets it on her own, but this goes through advisors. You don't get this without I'm assuming she didn't tweet this out without the blessing of Maura Healey. So this is a defining line, right? Massachusetts, if you're a normal Democrat, if you're most of the voters in this state are independent, this is now going to be pushed This isn't just going to be some welcoming thing. They will receive this child, this 13-year-old will receive medical attention to enable their transition. They will receive puberty blockers, perhaps a surgery. It is going on. There are videos of hospitals in Massachusetts endorsing and talking about this program that they have in place. This is not a good thing. This is a moral bad, and the reactionary response that too many people, just because someone on the right is pointing this out and saying this is bad, they must double down and say the opposite is good. And we've lost our sense of normalcy, of sanity in doing so. Okay? You have to be a strong parent. And if your child is confused by this, maybe they're gay. Okay. The stream is screwed up here. Oh, no. Crap. All right. All right, we're back. I don't know how much that got dropped off.
Yeah, you're back. I mean, I don't have to say about Kim Driscoll other than the fact that she couldn't even hire a qualified person to be the superintendent of Salem Public Schools. So why in the fuck is she giving her opinion on this? I say this as a former Salem resident. You couldn't even do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, again, I've made this point clear. She got elected because she had a D behind her name and she's running against Jeff Deal with, you know, like these people were to win and be our governor and lieutenant governor. So I don't want to have any like, you know, like veil over my eyes about this. Okay. Like it scares me that Kim Driscoll is lieutenant governor, basically, bottom line. Like she was so awful as mayor of Salem. We pretended that, you know, a lot of people did before political power, whatever, within the city, that she was competent and able to do this job. She was not able to do that. She screwed Salem Public Schools to the core. This is a completely separate issue, but like it is a baseline issue. She has no idea what she is doing on this subject. Like for someone to be a superintendent of a school district, they have to have certain qualifications, Jeff. And she hired this person without them. And if you just see like Salem Public Schools just degrade over time when I lived there, and it's sad. And it's sad that it didn't create more of a upheaval within the town. Like they reelected her.
This is happening everywhere, though. It's not just unique to her. The people with that mindset who care more about ideology than actual competency are everywhere. And let me just point this out. We're having trouble with the stream on Twitter. I'm going to put this is full episode will be recorded, put on YouTube. I'll put the link beneath it. So if you're having trouble watching this, this is going to be a battle throughout this year and next year as the presidential race heats up. And you're kind of on one side of this. It's like, do you support, I would call this is abuse in my mind of children, to support a twisted ideology that is repugnant, really, okay? And and again, drawing a clear line. If you're gay, okay, great. You can get married. Go be gay, be lesbian. No one's talking about that. And this is the thing. The media lies. Yvonne Abraham and the media locally will lie and say, well, they want to ban drag shows. Renee Graham will talk about this. They want to ban drag shows and they want to make transgender people illegal or something like that. No, it's like we're being very specific here. It's about children. Okay? And they're lying. They leave out huge chunks of this.
I just want to put forth this point that a lot of people in Massachusetts don't really understand about the state of Florida. Ron DeSantis won by like 30 points this midterm. Mm-hmm. He went from winning by about like, what was it, like 40K votes in 2018 to winning by 30 points over Charlie Crist. Okay. So this was after he won this overwhelmingly much, after he put forth these school bills. So he was reelected on this issue in an overwhelmingly huge win. So you in Massachusetts who can seem to comprehend what's going on in Florida at all because you live here and everyone here confirms your political bias. I keep constantly telling that to everybody else here when they start talking about politics and why the South is the way it is, why Florida is the way it is. It's because it's Florida and it's different from Massachusetts, and you're going to need to understand that. They won based on this issue. So people moving up to Boston from Florida based on that, maybe they're doing it because they're pushing forward an idea that's really kind of fringe. And so
let me say this, even the vast
supporting
even the vast majority of political liberals are probably just too afraid to speak out on this. They know it's wrong. And quietly they'll probably vote for, here's the
I've had conversations with moderate Democrats on Charlie Baker, like a wide range of issues in this state, where they literally are like, we wish Charlie Baker was governor again.
Well,
why didn't Mass GOP?
Thanks, Jim Lyons.
Like,
thanks, Jim Lyons, and thanks, Rick Green, for that.
But if I have moderate Democrats being like, I wish Charlie Baker was still governor, so we wouldn't have to deal with some of this craziness from Maura Healey and the state legislature, who's now being given a free pass to do their insane lefty bullshit. That means that there is an avenue for that moderate Republican who does stand strong on some social issues. It just needs to be a serious person who steps forward, who can lead. We do have a new state chair. She's leading the party in the right direction, but can kind of consolidate all of us and move forward. Like, I don't like living in a highly progressive state where I even hear from moderate Democrats that they would vote for a moderate Republican. Like, the thing is like, they're begging for that too.
But that tells you some very important things. One, that we're a highly progressive state in the sense that the leadership and governing class is highly progressive, and they're loud about it, and they're forceful about it, and they're going to make you care about it. This is the thing. I think Jim Garrity said this over at National Review years ago. It's like you can't exist in this vacuum as a citizen of Massachusetts and go like, oh, come on, I just don't care about this stuff and I don't want to get involved in the fight. Progressives will look at you and tell you, you will be made to care about this. You will be made to care. And it's happening. It's happening right now in our schools with social and emotional learning curriculum, with DEI officers, with all of this stuff. You will be made to care. And you have to understand that it changes when you stop voting for these people and you vote Republican. If you're not willing to do that, then just accept the consequences of your actions, okay? This is critical. And let me give a little bit of advice to Governor Maura Healey and Kim Driscoll. Advice that I hope you don't take. Your political future, you've been in office for 8 weeks, 9 weeks. If you want to push this stuff for the next 4 years, you will be one term in the corner office. That's it. Done. The pushback will come. It will happen. Guaranteed. Okay?
And it's not going to be based on your gender, FYI, that you're a woman and all this other stuff, because the Boston Globe has that article written already. They just want to copy and paste other facts into it. It's not because you're a woman. It's because you're pushing forward unpopular ideology.
In Massachusetts, as politically progressive as the leadership class is, Massachusetts as a whole is very small c conservative. They don't like change. They don't want to radically disrupt the status quo. Okay? That's why I think Maura Healey's popular approval rating was, I want to say, less than 50%. Now there's some I don't knows in there. Yeah, I'm not sure. But it's right around that mark. Now
that's actually, hearing that data, I would actually love to see that poll. I will look for it. But that does not surprise me because she ran against somebody who was extremely unpopular, came in, didn't have a good transition. Then we found out about the girlfriend thing.
Yep.
And then I think now it was interesting because I haven't even read her, like, what was it, the budget stuff that she's proposing. That it came out this week.
I want to get more on that. There's like, I heard.
I haven't read it yet.
I heard her
Go ahead.
proposal is increases it by, I could be wrong on this, and I want to get this right. It could be 15% increase of her version of the budget, which is bananas. That's bananas.
6%? Wait a minute. Don't they have this huge, massive slush fund that?
Well, they're raising the taxes on the millionaires tax. So I heard it was 4%, which is still really high.
15
but I also
is insane.
but 15 is bonkers. It's insane. So I don't know.
15 might make these people vote Republican.
Yeah. So we're in for trouble.
I'm just throwing it out.
If you wanted a progressive government,
that is a lot. I'm sorry.
It's a ton. So I mean that's another topic for another episode. But if you want to push all this stuff, be my guest. Be my guest, Kim Driscoll. Be my guest, Maura Healey. I mean, I'm gonna keep fighting it out. I'm gonna stand for normal. When does
the 4% millionaires tax get repealed by the state legislature, or it gets put in by?
Whatever. It's a constitutional thing.
Couldn't we do a referendum on that and then?
Well, you could pass a law that I mean, you could put together a referendum and totally unwind it, but I don't. It's now a constitutional. It's in the.
That's one of the things about Massachusetts that I will never. I think that part of it with the referendum thing. I think it's great in many aspects. I think that it also has its negatives in many aspects, and that's one of them.
So, I know Mayor Wu and Maura Healey and Kim Driscoll think you're immune to all of the outcomes of what it is, but Massachusetts is a small C conservative state, and we're not California, and people aren't going to sit idly by like Chicago, and there's not overwhelming. We're a lot smaller than New York with Eric Adams and de Blasio and the after effects of that. It's unique here. You're not going to survive this if you keep going that way. Govern the way you say you'd campaign on. Not rocking the boat on stuff. 15% increase on the budget is bonkers. So I have to dive into that more. But this stuff, keep pushing, keep poking the bear. Won't work out well for you. And again, that's my advice. But I don't want you to take it because I want to see you gone. Okay, all right. Sorry about the stream. I'm going to put this up on YouTube, and I'll link the YouTube underneath probably the original stream.
I just want to promote one thing. You were talking about that book, The Great Debate, and actually when we were filming this, I ended up buying it off of Amazon. But there is another really good book. Sorry, I just want to promote this book. It is actually really good. It's called The Sweet Enemy, Britain and France, the history of a love-hate relationship. And it focuses really on like Britain and France and their I guess versions of history over time and where they intersect and all of that, and a lot of cultural differences.
That's where
like government and stuff.
The Great Debate starts.
It's by Robert. Yeah. They're both historians. They're married, and one is English, the other is French. But there is a really good portion of it where it talks about Edmund Burke and the French Revolution, but also Thomas Paine within the context of the American Revolution, how both revolutions differ. Yeah. And that's what you're talking about, The Great Debate, and it's actually a really good book. It is thick, but you can get to that section really easily. I do promote that one.
We'll include all the links. We'll include the titles and stuff in the description for the YouTube, and either if you want to reply tweet or quote tweet it on this, we'll do that for everybody so that they have this for everybody. Yeah. All right, so the culture war is on. We're in full battle here. I don't think progressives are going to win this one. I really don't. This is just another salvo in what we're doing. Okay, head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/RINOPod. Only $1 a month for extra content. We do appreciate your support, and we will be back next time. And have a great week. This is some serious stuff, folks, and we got to get serious about it. So I hope we treat it as a serious issue. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.